You ever feel like the problems we're all dealing with, procrastination, arguments that spiral out of control, trying to figure out who your real friends are somehow brand new, like uniquely modern problems? Well, what if I told you there's a book of wisdom, thousands of years old, that gives a shockingly on-point analysis of these exact human struggles? So yeah, let's dive right into the book of Proverbs and see what it has to say about our lives today. We have all been there, right? You've got that huge project looming, or you need to have that really tough conversation. But suddenly, the smallest distraction feels like this massive, unavoidable obstacle. So what is actually going on inside our heads when we do that to ourselves? The book of Proverbs actually dedicates some serious real estate to this whole idea, basically framing it as a form of self-sabotage. It gives us this incredible window into the psychology of just not doing things. And, spoiler alert, it's not always a pretty picture. So, check this out. Proverbs 26:13 gives us this amazing, almost funny image. A guy saying he can't go outside because there is a lion in the way. A lion is in the streets. I mean, come on. It's obviously not a real lion. It's a completely manufactured catastrophe, and it's designed for one single purpose: to justify doing absolutely nothing. And this illustrates a core psychological truth so well. To avoid the effort a task takes, what you might call its activation energy, we invent these huge, dramatic, lion-sized fears. It's really a defense mechanism, one that makes our inaction feel not just okay, but actually smart. And it builds on this in verse 15, which uses this wild hyperbole to make a really critical point. The energy it takes to just feed yourself is described as grievous, like it's painful. For someone who's really caught in that downward spiral of sloth, even the most basic, necessary actions feel like an impossibly heavy burden. And here's the final, brilliant twist from verse 16. To deal with that mental conflict, that cognitive dissonance between knowing you should be doing something and choosing not to, the lazy person convinces themselves that they're just smarter than everybody else. Their excuses become these genius insights, way better than the practical advice of 7 wise counselors. It's an incredibly powerful form of self-deception. Okay, so these internal issues, they don't just stay bottled up inside. Proverbs then shows us how they spill out into our relationships, creating all sorts of conflict and strife. So let's look at the mechanics. How exactly does trouble get started and then just get totally out of control? Wow, what a visceral image this is from Proverbs 26:17. This is how the text describes someone who meddles in a fight that has nothing to do with them. Think about it. You grab a dog by the ears, you've got a serious problem. You can't hold on forever, but you can't let go without getting bitten. It's a complete lose-lose situation that you created just by sticking your nose where it didn't belong. So Proverbs suggests that strife isn't just random, it follows a formula. It all starts with a spark. Verse 21 calls this a contentious man, someone who just loves to argue. Then you need fuel. According to verse 20, the talebearer or the gossip provides the wood for the fire. And finally, the impact. Verse 22 tells us these words, this gossip, they aren't just superficial, they go deep into the innermost parts of the belly, and they cause real, lasting damage. So from gossip, it's a short step to outright deception, and Proverbs is crystal clear that lies, and especially those so-called jokes made at someone else's expense, are not harmless fun at all. In fact, they have a serious boomerang effect. I mean, listen to this shocking comparison from Proverbs 26, verses 18 and 19. A person who hurts someone and then just says, "Hey, can't you take a joke?" is put on the same level as a madman randomly throwing lethal weapons around. The text is saying there is zero difference in the recklessness and the destructive power. That excuse, "it was just a joke," is just completely and frankly, terrifyingly dismissed. And then verse 27 just makes it plain. Deception is a trap, but it's for the deceiver. The very act of setting a trap for someone else, digging that pit, rolling that stone, is what creates the mechanism of your own downfall. It's presented as this natural law of consequences, a kind of poetic justice that's woven right into the fabric of how we interact. Okay, so after all that dysfunction and negativity, what's the antidote? This is where Proverbs pivots from all the pitfalls to the principles, and it offers this really powerful vision of what a true constructive friendship is supposed to look like. So Proverbs 27 gives us one of the most counterintuitive but profound ideas about our relationships. Get this, true friendship isn't always about being comfortable.
Verse 6 says, a real friend is willing to give you a faithful wound. That hard truth that might sting a little, but it's meant for your own good. On the flip side, that easy flattery, what it calls the kisses of an enemy, is really just another form of deception. But this isn't just about getting harsh rebukes all the time. As verse 9 shows us, the positive side of all this honesty is this deep, genuine joy. Getting sincere, heartfelt advice from a friend who truly has your back, well, it's described as being as sweet and as uplifting as ointment and perfume. All right, so the final piece of the puzzle connects our inner character to our outer reality. How do you actually build a life that's stable and secure? Well, the answer is simple, but it's definitely not easy. It's diligence. In Proverbs 27:23, the advice was pretty literal for an agricultural society back then. But the principle behind it is universal. You have to pay close attention to your resources. It's a call for a mindset of proactive awareness. Know what's going on with your career, your finances, your projects. And why? Because as verse 24 warns us, riches are not forever. Your luck can run out, but diligence builds something that lasts. And this isn't some abstract pie-in-the-sky idea. Verses 25 through 27 lay out the very concrete rewards. See, diligence isn't just for its own sake. It directly leads to tangible security. It means clothes from your lambs, income from selling your goats, food for your family, and stability for everyone who depends on you. It's the practical engine that drives a prosperous life. I just love this proverb from 27:17. It ties everything we've talked about together so perfectly. Just like two iron blades get sharper when they're rubbed against each other, two friends actually improve each other through honest talk, through wise advice, and through holding each other accountable. That's the goal, right? Not just passive comfort, but active mutual improvement. And that brings us to a final thought to chew on. We live in this age of Instagram filters and carefully curated public images, where everyone is constantly presenting their absolute best self. In an environment like that, what is the true value of a faithful wound? What does it even mean to get one from a friend or to give one? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.